Hey guys, Ryan here. In today's video, I'm going to be going over what I think is going to be the best sniper for your playstyle. If you're wondering what I mean by playstyle, it's just simply, are you a more aggressive sniper or do you like to sit far back and hit precise shots at distance? And that's going to be the main thing I'm going to cover. Because if you are a more aggressive sniper, you want to lean towards the Swiss, Kar98, maybe the Palantir or SPR. If you're a long-range sniper, then the HDR, the ZRG, and the Tundra are going to be the snipers for you. I'm going to be going over the best builds, the best sniper supports for each of the different playstyles, and I'm just going to be going over all of that. If you want to see the build, go down below in the comments or in the description because it's a little easier for me to put them in text so people can see them and not have to just hear my voice. It's a lot easier that way. As I've mentioned before, guys, you don't have to like, you don't have to subscribe, but if you do, I really appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you guys for watching this video and I hope you enjoy it. But guys, let's get into it. So if you think you're a more aggressive sniper, as you heard me mention, I think the two snipers for you are going to be the Swiss and the Kar98 primarily. There are other options. I really think the SPR and even the Palantir can all be made very viable for quickscoping, but I really think that the Swiss and Kar98 are the best in class, and I really think they're the ones you should focus on. The Kar98 and Swiss is going to mainly come down to a personal feel thing, but they also have slightly different strengths. The Kar98 can be a little quicker if built with the aim down sight time, but I find that it's more of a feel and a personal thing when it comes to these two snipers. The Swiss has a little bit better flinch resistance without having to run focus, because on the Kar98 I'm one of the only people that really recommends running focus for the flinch resistance, because if you are an aggressive sniper, that flinch resistance is going to be one of the biggest things, and a lot of snipers lack that, and that's what the Swiss and Kar98 can have over almost every other sniper. Because when you're getting shot at and you're being a little more aggressive and you're sniping someone 30 to 50 meters away and they're easily able to hit you with their AR, having that flinch resistance is going to be the difference between you going to the gulag or having your game end and you coming out on top. And I know I cannot stress it enough, but I really mean that, guys. The main buff that they gave to the Swiss a couple months ago was to allow it to have more flinch resistance in comparison to most of the other snipers, and especially the Cold War snipers, and it's very noticeable, especially if you run the Airborne Elastic Wrap. Now that is going to be one of the grip tapes, and the way that I build my Swiss, for example, I'm going to have the GRU Suppressor, the Combat Recon barrel, the 5 milliwatt laser sight, no other scope, just the default scope. I'm going to run the Raider stock, the very last one I believe it is, and then I'm going to run the Airborne Elastic Wrap. And to me, that's going to be the most optimal build for the Swiss. As for my Kar98, there's a couple variations, but for me, I like to run focus. So I run the Monolithic Suppressor, the 27-inch barrel, I believe it's the biggest barrel, the Tac Laser, and then I like to, this is where I switch it up, I run obviously the sniper scope, and then I run focus. Now, a lot of people, they don't run focus, and instead what they have is they have this stock that allows you to aim down sight quicker, or they run stippled grip, or they run a stock that gives them more aim stability, and that's just a more preference thing. But I would really recommend guys try and focus. So now, as for the sniper supports that you'd really want to run with the more aggressive snipers, I'd really recommend actually SMGs. The MAC-10, Cold War MP5, and Modern Warfare MP5 I think are some of the best. You can put the Milano up there, but if you really are confident in your ability in the mid-range, then I would really get something that's going to absolutely dominate gunfights between 0 and 10 meters. Now I know that sounds crazy, but I find that the Cold War MP5 and Swiss is so good, because if you're really confident in hitting your shots and you're a pretty good sniper, you have all ranges covered and nothing's going to really beat you up close if you have that Cold War MP5. And the movement speed that these guns offer is just insane. But on the flip side, I'd also really recommend the Cold War AK or XM4 if you really feel like that you want to still be an aggressive sniper, but you want some use in the mid-range. The XM4 is more or less recoil, doesn't have as much damage, but a little easier to use. The Cold War AK is a little harder to use, but comes with a little more damage, so that's the way I would choose it there. But now, guys, I want to get into the long-range snipers, because this one has a little bit more choices. Now, it's going to come down to the HDR, the Tundra, or the ZRG. And this is for people that have, you know, more of a laid-back sniping style. They like to post up from really far away. But when it comes to choosing between those three, the main thing you really want to consider is what guns do you have leveled up, and what sniper are you most familiar with, and the overall feel of the gun. All of these guns have good bullet velocity, they have great ability to kill at range, and they just have a really good feel at these long ranges. But which one are you more comfortable with? Some people have been using the HDR for forever. But some people, they played Cold War, they don't really have the HDR leveled up. The only thing they really have is the Tundra or the ZRG. And let me tell you guys, those guns are almost just as good or just as good in the long range. The main thing also is that the way you build these snipers is going to be a little different. Now with the HDR, you really want to utilize like the Monolithic Suppressor, the big barrel, even a Tac Laser just to help a little bit, but you really want to focus on the variable zoom on the sight to allow you to really zoom in for long ranges. And if you want to use the ZRG or Tundra in the long range, I'd recommend maybe sticking with the default sight on the ZRG, but on the Tundra, consider using one of the 1 to 10 times sights or the 2 to 20 times sights. And I know that sounds crazy, and I know that sounds really kind of weird, but if you really are one of the snipers that likes to take their time, really set up the shots, with a lot of practice, you can get sights and the shots that just seem unreal, and you can hit shots from 400 500 meters consistently with those sights. Now if you did want to use the ZRG and Tundra, the build that I'd really recommend would mainly just focus on this, guys. The combat recon barrel is going to be the barrel that's going to boost your bolt velocity the most, and the GRU suppressor is going to give you that silence, of course, and it's going to boost your bolt velocity and damage range. So those are the two main attachments, and everything beyond that is going to become personal choice. And I'm going to give you what I would build down in the description, down below in the comments. But I cannot stress enough, guys, like any of the builds or any of the guns I mentioned, do some more research and figure out, and maybe even think, is this what's best for me? So many people underestimate that. Just because something works for me as a player does not mean that's objectively the best. Just because I or any other content creator suggest anything, yeah, we may have reasons, but there's also tons of reasons to run other builds. And that's why I like to give a couple different builds and a couple different ideas and tell you why I'm choosing to use the attachments I do. So guys, if you're going to use these long range snipers, the sniper supports I would choose to run with it would mainly focus on kind of the XM4, colder AK, maybe even like the Ram 7 or something like that. But the main thing is I'd really not recommend having an SMG because you're going to be weak in the mid range. And if you're using some of these long range snipers, then you may not be comfortable hitting shots about 20, 25, 30 meters out. And that's where I'd really recommend having something like. There's also the Milano, Bullfrog, and LC10, which are all pretty good, but I would also just really recommend kind of choosing like the XM4, Ram 7, colder AK, something a little more like that, just to give you more flexibility. But of course, guys, it's all personal preference, and I cannot stress that enough. Just pick something that's going to be good in the mid and the close range. Anyways, guys, I'm going to start wrapping this video up. I appreciate anyone who watches these videos. I hope you enjoyed it and got a better idea. I hope to make more videos like this where I make it more about your playstyle and not just my objective or my quote-unquote objective opinion on what is best, but more orientated for the different playstyles out there in Warzone. You guys don't have to like, you don't have to subscribe, but if you do, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys just for watching this video. Hope you have a good day. It's been Ryan. Peace.